The Moroccan sun was a hammer. Long pause. Even in the late afternoon, it didn't just beat down on you. It pressed. I was 36 years old. Sitting outside a cafe. Watching the world drip by. You know that feeling when you look at a stranger, and think you've got them figured out. People did that to me. All the time. They'd glance at my average clothes. My slightly scruffy but clean look. And I could see the gears turning in their heads. One guy would think, teacher. Definitely a middle school science teacher. Another would squint. Convinced I was some mid-level bureaucrat, drowning in paperwork. The real arrogant ones, the ones who thought they had X-ray vision, they would smirk. And decide I was a hustler. A middleman selling used cars, or cheap plots of land. Long pause. They were all wrong. Completely, embarrassingly wrong. You could give them 6,000 guesses, and they'd never land on it. I'm a hunter. But I don't hunt boar. Or fish. Or even pigeons. I hunt meteorites. Space rocks. Debris that falls from the sky. Long pause. People always say, my luck is falling from the sky. For me, that's not a metaphor. That's the job description. My money doesn't come from a paycheck. It literally has to fall from heaven. My name is Yassine. And this is the story of how I followed a falling star into the heart of the Sahara. And nearly lost my mind in the darkness. But the terror I found out there wasn't buried in the sand. It was inside the man standing right next to me. Long pause. We're a strange breed. Meteorite hunters. We chase fireballs. We drive for days into the absolute emptiness of the desert. Guided by rumors, and shaky cell phone videos of a streak in the night sky. The payday can be life-changing. A common chondrite, fragile as dried mud, might get you a few bucks a gram. But an achondrite, a piece of the moon, or Mars, that can range from 50 dirhams a gram, to 50,000. Imagine holding a rock worth more than an apartment building. A rock that has traveled millions of miles, just to land in your hands. That's the dream. That's the addiction. We spend our nights not sleeping, but staring up. Straining our eyes. Begging the universe to drop something beautiful. Long pause. This particular trip started with a phone call. From my partner. Hajj Ibrahim. He was a legend in this world. An old-timer who knew the desert like the back of his hand. I could hear the excitement crackling in his voice before I even picked up. Yassine. A shepherd. A friend of mine. He saw a big one. A real monster. It went down near the Hamada. Deep in the south. Maybe 40 kilometers from the last asphalt. The fireball had split the sky. A green and gold streak that turned night into day for a second. The shepherd swore it was a rich one. A real treasure. I felt that familiar jolt of electricity. It's a hunter's instinct. A primal pull. We grabbed our gear. Magnets mounted on walking sticks. GPS units, a metal detector for Hajj Ibrahim. And enough water and food for 10 days. We always prepare for 10 days. The desert doesn't forgive an optimist. It was me, Hajj Ibrahim, and a young guy named Yahya who worked with us. Yahya was quiet, respectful, dreaming of a big find, so he could finally afford to get married. As we loaded the 4x4, he was buzzing. Just one good find, Yassine. Just one. And I can walk into her father's house, with my head held high. The drive was a blur. Highway. Then dusty roads. Then nothing, but a compass heading. We pushed deep into the heart of the wasteland, leaving every trace of civilization behind. The flat tire of anxiety was always in the back of our minds. The fear that we'd get to the drop zone, only to find fresh tire tracks. And a rival hunter, holding our rock. In this game, luck is a real, tangible force. You're always racing against unseen enemies, who have the same tips, the same maps, the same desperate hunger. Long pause. After a day and a half, we found the shepherd's tent. A lone black spot, in a sea of ochre. He welcomed us with sweet tea, and described the trajectory in detail. He pointed toward a brutal, inhospitable stretch of the Hamada. A place of sharp stones, and ancient, dry riverbeds. He swore on his life, he hadn't told another soul. By sunset, we were there. We pitched our small camp in a flat, gravelly plain. The landscape was Martian. Absolute silence. Except for the wind. For most people, that kind of isolation breeds a cold, creeping dread. For us it's just another Tuesday. We ate a quick, joyless meal of bread and sardines. The tension building. The first night in a search zone, is always the hardest. You're so close to a potential fortune, you can almost taste it. Haj Ibrahim was staring at the sky, looking for his own answers. The sky is angry tonight, Yassine, he murmured. More to himself than to me. The earth is completely dark. Tomorrow, we'll find it. I laughed, trying to lighten the mood. Haj, the sky is clear. Go get some sleep. We need you sharp. We were just settling into a dry joke. The only sound, our low laughter. When it was cut off by a howl, from the deep dark. Long pause. It wasn't a wolf. It was a long, wavering, almost human cackle. That rose, and fell. A hyena. Haj Ibrahim froze, tilting his head. He's just passing through, he whispered. But no more sitting outside. Everyone to their tent. Now. We scrambled into our individual domes, zipping the flaps tight. I lay in my sleeping bag. The cold, seeping up from the stones. Sleep felt impossible. The hyena's laugh echoed in my skull, mixing with visions of a lunar meteorite, glittering in the sand. I must have drifted off. Because the next thing I remember, is the sound of a zipper. Long pause. Zip. A blast of freezing air. I blinked in the pitch black. My brain, slow with exhaustion. A figure was crouched at the entrance to my tent. It was Haj Ibrahim. His silhouette was backlit by a dizzying carpet of stars. But his eyes were completely fixed, piercing through me. He spoke in a hushed, conspiratorial whisper. His voice, tight. Yassine. The well. It's calling. Long pause. I tried to sit up, my head swimming. What Haj, what are you talking about? There's a well close by, he hissed, his gaze never leaving mine. Can't you hear it? I'm going to it. I'm going to climb down. Remember the water. Look after Yahya. He's just a boy. This place is dangerous. You look after him. My mind was a slurry of dreams and wakefulness. It made no sense. Haj, come on. Go back to bed. You're talking nonsense. but he was already backing away, sealing my tent. "Don't follow. It's calling." And then he was gone, swallowed by the darkness. Long pause. I was convinced it was a bad dream. I closed my eyes. And the next thing I knew, the sun was baking the nylon of my tent. I crawled out. The camp was calm. The morning light was harsh and white. And there was Hajj Ibrahim, brewing coffee over a tiny gas stove. Completely normal. Yahya was stretching, yawning. "You finally woke up?" Yahya laughed. "We thought you'd died in there." I walked straight over to Hajj Ibrahim, my confusion turning to a creeping unease. "Hajj, what happened last night? You came to my tent. You were talking about a well. You said it was calling you." He looked up at me, genuinely surprised. He let out a short, confused laugh. "A well? Yassine. I took a sleeping pill and passed out. I didn't leave my tent all night." "Are you sure you weren't dreaming?" Long pause. I insisted. I told him every detail. The frantic whisper. The command to watch Yahya. The far-off look in his eyes. He dismissed it with a wave of his hand. "The desert does this, my son. It plays tricks. It brings hallucinations. Especially with exhaustion. Forget it. It was just a bad dream." He was so calm, so logical, that I let it go. I convinced myself he was right. We had a meteorite to find. We spent the entire morning methodically sweeping the area, eyes glued to the ground. Nothing. Not a single fusion-crusted fragment. We expanded our grid. The sun climbed and brutalized us. Huge monitor lizards and spiny-tailed lizards watched us from the rocks. But the rock we wanted remained hidden. Long pause. Around noon, Hajj Ibrahim managed to get a flicker of cell service. By climbing a high, rocky outcrop. He came back down 20 minutes later. And the energy around him had completely collapsed. The legendary hunter was defeated. "It's over," he said. His face ashen. A friend sent word. A hunter named Qasim, he found it. He found our rock yesterday evening. Just a few kilometers from here. He was already in the city selling it by now. He slumped down, staring at the sky. We were too late. Long pause. The news hit us like a physical blow. All that hope, the long drive, the adrenaline, gone. Yahya's dreams of marriage evaporated. We lit a small fire that night. A funeral pyre for our ambition. The silence was suffocating. We ate mechanically, not speaking. Hajj Ibrahim just stared into the cosmos, a shattered look on his face. He finally shuffled to his tent early. A man who had aged 10 years, in one afternoon. He said nothing. It was just me and Yahya now, sitting by the embers. He was pouring his heart out, talking about his girl, about his fear of going back empty-handed, with no story of success to tell her father. The world felt heavy and unfair. I was half listening. My eyes, SC.